Hi guys, let's start a new exercise in this topic GST. Before we start, let's quickly revise what we've already learned. So we talked about two kind of transactions. One was intrastate, which is within a particular state, and one is interstate, which means from one state to another. In this case, the GST is divided into two components, CGST, which is equal to SGST, and CGST plus SGST gives us the total GST. And in case of an interstate, the only component of GST is IGST, which is integrated GST. This IGST and GST in terms of sum will be exactly equal, but here in intra, it would be divided into two equal halves. So that's the concept that we've done in our first exercise. Let's move on to the second exercise. So before I discuss that concept, I have given an example here on the screen for us to understand how this works. So let's look at an example where the first person here, let's say identity 1, this is the person 2, this is person 3, and this is person 4. Now person 1 is the manufacturer of the product, so he is not buying it from anyone. That's why he doesn't have a cost price. We're not talking about his profit. He decides to sell the product at 1,000 rupee. Whatever was his input cost, we don't know. He's manufacturing it and he's selling it at 1,000 rupee. Since he has not purchased it from anyone, he hasn't paid any GST to anyone. So there is no GST that he's paid. Next, the GST that he collects from the buyer, whenever he sells it to someone, he's collecting a GST from the buyer. In this case, GST rate, I have taken it to be 10%, which means 10% of 1,000 rupee, which is 100 rupee, is what he'll collect from identity 2. Let's say this is a dealer 1 or dealer A, right? So he's collecting 100 rupees from dealer A as the tax. The total bill amount that he will give to dealer A would be 1,100, out of which 1,000 goes to him and 100 goes to the government. Now, how much GST does he deposit to the government? This is known as net GST. He deposits output GST minus input GST. Two new words. Let's understand what these two words are. So output GST is the GST that he collects. This is the GST that he collects from the person to whom he is selling. In this case, it is 100 rupee. Minus input GST is the GST that he paid to the person from whom he purchased. In this case, since he hasn't purchased this from anyone, the input GST was 0. So the net GST that this person, manufacturer, will give to the government is 100 minus 0, which is 100. So I hope this part of the transaction is clear till now. This is the first person in the chain. He manufactures it for, he sells it for 1,000. He hasn't paid any GST to anyone, but he collects 1,000 rupee from someone as GST to whom he sold. The total bill amount is 1,100, out of which 100 rupee he deposits to the government. Now we are not bothered here whether it's an intrastate or interstate. This is the total GST. In case it is intra, then he'll divide this into two parts, CGST and SGST. In case this is inter, then there will be only one component. So we are not talking about that component here for this example yet. We are just saying the total GST which is payable to the government. So till now, the manufacturer has received 1,000 rupee and the government has received 100 rupee till this transaction is here. Let's look at dealer A. Now he purchased the product for 1,000 rupee. The bill amount was 1,100, but 1,000 rupee was the cost price. 100 rupee was his input GST with a GST that he paid to the person from whom he purchased. So for him, the input GST is 100. Next, he decides to make a profit of 400 rupee, and since he purchased it at 1,000, profit he wants is 400. His selling price is 1,400 rupees. Now, when he sells it to, let's say, dealer B, he charges a output tax at 10%. 10% of 1,400, which is 140, is his output tax, which he collects from dealer B. The total bill amount will be selling price plus 140, which is 1,540. And the money that he pays to the government as GST is output tax. In this case, output tax for him is 140 and the input tax from him was rupees 100, which means he gives a tax of 40 rupees to the government. So till this transaction, manufacturer has got 1000, dealer A has got 400 and government has got 100 plus 40, which is 140. This is step 2 of the transaction. Let's go to step 3. Dealer B, for him the cost price was 1400, so his cost price is 1400. He decides to make a profit of 600, so 600 is his profit. He decides to sell this at 2000 rupee. The input tax for him was 140 rupee, which is the tax that he paid to the person from whom he purchased. The output tax for him is the tax that he'll collect from the person that he's selling to. In this case, 10% of 2000, that's 200 rupee. So his bill amount will be 2000 plus 200, that's 2200 rupee. And how much tax does he deposit to the government? His output tax was 200, input tax was 140, so he deposits 60 rupee to the government. So till this level, manufacturer made 1000 rupee, dealer A made 40 rupee, not 40, 400 rupee, dealer B made 600 rupee, and the government has got 100 plus 40 plus 60, which is 200 rupee. So this is the breakup of this 2000, 200. 1000 went to manufacturer, 400 went to dealer A, 600 went to dealer B, and 200 has gone to the government. Now dealer B is selling it to the final consumer or the end user, which means this person will not sell it any further. So for him, the bill amount is 2000 and the tax is 200. So from his pocket, 2200 has gone. So that's the total breakup of this 2200, which the final consumer has paid, out of which 1000 has gone to the manufacturer, 400 to dealer 1, 600 to dealer 2, and 200 rupees, the full amount has gone to government. So this is the basic calculation of net GST, input GST, and output GST. Simple way of understanding, input GST is calculated on cost price, output GST is calculated at selling price. And whenever you talk about cost price, tax is not included in the cost price. You will always have cost price excluding tax. So unless the question specifically says find the cost price including tax, whenever you mention cost price is excluding tax. So I hope you notice when I wrote the cost price here, I wrote it as 1000. I did not include this 100 rupees. When I wrote the cost price as 1400, I did not include the 140 rupee, which was the tax. Let's solve a few questions. The concept will become much easier to understand. But what you need to remember from here is input tax calculated on cost price, output tax calculated on selling price, and net GST payable by any person in the chain is equal to output tax minus input tax. So let's look at a question and let's solve that question. So the first question that I start with is question number 1. It says when goods are sold for rupees 15,000 under intrastate transaction, which means we're looking at a difference of breakup of CGST and SGST from station A to station B, GST rate is 12%. Then interstate from station B to station C. So what we have is A to B, and then B to C. This is intra and this is inter, which means this would be a breakup of CGST and SGST, and this would only be IGST. Perfect. So when goods are sold for rupees 15,000 from station A to station B, so station A is selling it at rupees 15,000. So the selling price at A is 15,000 rupees. The CGST at station A, CGST will be, the rate is 12%. Therefore, CGST will be at the rate of 6% of selling price. In this case, 6 upon 100 into 15,000, which is equal to 6 into 150, that's rupees 900. SGST is equal to CGST, which is also equal to rupees 900. So what will be the cost price at station B? Now, since the question is not clear, it's not saying whether GST is included or not, you would write this as cost price of station B would be 15,000, because if A is selling at 15,000, B is buying it at 15,000. So this question is slightly not clear, but if you want to make it more clear, you can write plus GST, right? In this case, rupees 1800. This is 900 plus 900, 1800. But otherwise, 15,000 would be taken as a correct answer. Next, if profit at station B is rupees 5,000, what would be the selling price? His cost price was 15. He wants a profit of 5, which means his selling price would be 20,000. Next, it says B to C, they are transferred interstate. What would be the GST? GST is calculated at the rate of 12%. In this case, 12% of 20,000, which would be 12 into 200, 12 into 224 with two zeros. So that's 2,400. Next, cost price at station C. Now, does it say C is the end consumer? No, it doesn't say anything. So cost price at station C would be rupees 20,000 plus GST. In this case, rupees 2,400. So the cost price will be the person will be the selling price of what the previous person sold it to him at. So 20,000 is what he sold it to him. So he purchased it at 20,000, and he also ended up paying a GST. So unless it says C is the end consumer, let me read the question again. No, C is not given as end consumer. So the cost price for him is 20,000 plus GST. Let's look at the next question. Next question is question number 3. It says goods services are sold from Agra to Kanpur for rupees 20,000, and then from Kanpur to Jaipur. So what we have first is Agra, then we have Kanpur, then we have Jaipur. Now Agra to Kanpur is basically intra-state, same state of UP. Kanpur to Jaipur, which is UP to Rajasthan, is interstate. So here we will have a breakup of CGST and SGST. Here we will have only IGST. Next, let's read the question. It says goods are sold from Agra to Kanpur for rupees 20,000. So selling price here is equal to rupees 20,000, which means the cost price at Kanpur would be equal to rupees 20,000. Next, and then from Kanpur to Jaipur, rate of GST is 18%. Profit at Kanpur is 5,000. He wants to make a profit of rupees 5,000, which means his selling price would be rupees 25,000. If he's selling it at 25,000, then he would have purchased it at 25,000. Perfect. Find the net GST payable by the dealer at Kanpur. So we need to find the net GST payable at dealer at Kanpur. So first let's calculate the input GST. Input GST is calculated at cost price. In this case, cost price is 20,000 and the rate of GST is 18%. So that would be 18 upon 100 into 20,000, which is equal to rupees 3,600. And output GST for this person at Kanpur would be GST rate at selling price, in this case 18 upon 100 into 25,000. So this is 0000, that's 250 into 18, which will be equal to, let me just calculate, 25 into 18, 5 into 8, 40, 8 into 2, 16 plus 4, 20, that's 5, that's 2054. So this is equal to rupees 450 with 10. So that's 4,500. Right? So this is this output GST. What this means is net GST for Kanpur dealer will be equal to output minus input. Output is 4,500, input is 3,600, which means this is equal to rupees 900. Now I have left very little space. Let me just write this here. So since net GST payable is 900, we need to show a breakup of CGST and SGST, which means net CGST is equal to rupees 450 and net SGST is equal to rupees 450. So that's the net CGST and SGST payable. If you want full marks in the exam, you will need to write these three elements: net CGST and net SGST and net GST. So we've done first part of the question, cost of goods at Jaipur. Does it say that the dealer at Jaipur is a end user? No, question doesn't say that. So cost price of goods at Jaipur is 25,000 plus GST. In this case, it is 25,000 plus 4,500. That's the cost of the goods at Jaipur. So that's the answer. You can write this as 29,500, or you could leave this at 25,000 plus GST in terms of 4,500. I am repeating, the questions in your exam will hopefully be far more clear than the questions in the book given now, which means they would clearly say whether they want the answer with GST or without GST. Let's look at the next question. The next question that we do is question number 3. It says goods are sold from Kota to Mumbai for rupees 20,000. So right now we have Kota, which is in Rajasthan, which is being sold to Mumbai, which is interstate, which is Maharashtra. So we have only IGST. Next, and then from Mumbai to Pune, which is intra, which means we will have a breakup of CGST and SGST. Rate of GST